We have entered a new age of light in which things are being disclosed or exposed in their season. In this season and of love, Source shines light regarding 4 statements of Thomas Williams that were presented in a Truth, Honor, and Integrity show of his. And so we answer the following questions. 1. What is the nature of the 4 statements of Thomas Williams? Are they light or dark? And are they reliable and trustworthy? 2. What does Thomas Williams manifest? Are his thinking or reasoning and behavior of love, light, truth, honor, and integrity? 3. How may we use this disclosure or exposure and so improve our individual and collective progression and experience? In this disclosure, there are 7 parts. Introduction, evidences, preliminary definitions, investigation and consideration, intermediate summary, expanded source disclosure, and summary. Now we progress into Part 2, evidences. This disclosure or exposure involves the following evidences. 1. 4 statements from THI 2019 End of Year Review Part 5, beginning at about 22 minutes 57 seconds, published on YouTube January 6, 2020. 2. Email or complaint, December 30, 2019, regarding the THI Xmas special, involving the body and main subject of Thomas's presentation from about 2 hours 30 minutes to about 2 hours 44 minutes. 3. Thomas's email reply, December 31, 2019, regarding email or complaint. And 4. Tim's response, January 3, 2020, regarding Thomas's email reply. And we have a note here regarding the THI Xmas special in connection with Evidence 2. Due to the nature of that presentation, only some relevant excerpts are used in this video. Anyone may witness the fullness by going to the YouTube presentation of the Tommy Williams channel and its THI Xmas special show, which was there available at the time of the creation of this video. Introductory context begins at about 2 hours 22 minutes. We will quickly move through the evidences and subsequently we take a closer and deeper look at them. Evidence 1. The 4 statements. Evidence 2, email or complaint. This is screen 1 and screen 2. Evidence 3, Thomas's email reply regarding email or complaint. And evidence 4, Tim's response regarding Thomas's email reply. This is screen 1, screen 2, screen 3, screen 4, and screen 5. And these screens are made with font of such size that you should be able to go back and read these if you like or pause on your way through them. Now we progress into Part 3, which we need for clarity, reliability, comprehension, and fairness. Preliminary definitions. Bridge words or concepts. Words or concepts that aid transition from one state of consciousness to another. This disclosure uses bridge words or concepts. Source. The source and creator of the cosmos. Note, original, authentic source is not a central sun or other created thing, for example, spirit, soul, body, or construct, of creation. If the cosmos were to be completely dissolved, destroyed, or rolled up as a scroll, there would yet be source and its light, for even without the cosmos or creation, nothing of source consciousness is dark, that is, hidden or veiled, regarding source. Cosmos. the entire orderly arranged system and construct called creation, including all created beings, entities, organisms, or constructs, including spirits, souls, bodies, lowercase g gods, uppercase g God, etc., none of which are endless. Such created things are not source or source essence that creates and uses such things for its experience. Nature of something, the combination of qualities of something. Source nature, the combination of qualities of source, the creator, including the qualities of source essence using cosmos things, for example, created spirit, soul, body, mind, or consciousness for experience. Source essence, the endless, ever pure, ever perfect, and indomitable essence of source that is the origin and truth of each and every source essence being, including creator beings, using creations within the cosmos, for example, created spirit, soul, or body, or other created component or construct. Love, active goodwill. Source love, the quality of source nature that has active goodwill, where goodwill is will, including purpose, of source nature. Regarding love or goodwill, cosmic thinking, reasoning, intellect, or mind typically does not match or perceive source love. Cosmos nature, the combination of qualities of created things of the cosmos. The nature of created things or beings, for example, created spirits, souls, bodies, or constructs that are not source or source essence and not endless in their nature. To some degree, cosmos nature obscures source from the sight and consciousness of cosmic or created beings, spirit, souls, or bodies, making source falsely seem dark or black, perhaps like a darker black sun. Light, that which reveals, discloses, exposes, uncovers, uncloaks, discovers, unveils, that which does not hide or veil, etc. Source light, the quality of source and source nature that is 100% light of source and discloses, exposes, reveals, unhides, uncovers, or unveils, or does not hide or veil, etc., things of source from source consciousness. Note, source light has existed since before the cosmos or creation, for nothing of source is hidden from source consciousness, and creation did not arise without that consciousness and light of source. Cosmos light, light of the cosmos nature that is dim, colored, and without purity and completeness of source light, such that it has the limitations, causes, effects, and other qualities of its dimness, coloration, impureness, distortion, untruth, etc. Dark, that which closes, hides, covers, cloaks, or veils, quality of coloration or darkness. The cosmos is a dark creation that blocks or hides the knowing and light of source from the consciousness of its cosmos nature oriented, created things, beings, entities, or constructs. For example, created spirits, souls, bodies, etc. Darkened, made dark. Black, most dark. Color, from Latin colos meaning dark. Quality of coloration or darkness. Colored, darkened. Effect of coloration. Coloration, dark or darkened state of being, including all related qualities, including dark processes, causes, and effects. For example, dark spirit, soul, body or heart, ego, orientation, attitude, and thinking, reasoning, intellect, mind, or consciousness involving untruth, false beliefs, false knowing, dark behavior, and avoidance of exposure, avoidance of light. Fallacy, deception or guile. including false or deceptive thinking, reasoning, intellect, argument, or behavior. Reasoning, the action of thinking about something in a sensible, rational manner. Intellect, originating of a Latin word, intelligere, or more Latin-like, intelligere, meaning comprehend, involving interchoosing of reasoning that together grasps. It is or means the faculty of the use of mental ability or power to objectively and reliably perceive, reason, and comprehend. The intellect is a faculty of the use of mental ability or power. Intelligence, like intellect, originating of the same Latin word, meaning comprehend, involving interchoosing of reasoning that together grasps. It is or means the mental ability or power to objectively and reliably perceive, reason, and comprehend. Intelligence is the mental ability or power of the intellect, and the two are one and inseparable. Assumption, essentially involving to take up or to accept something. For example, in the mental process of thinking, reasoning, or intellect, to take up or accept something as true without proof. Conclusion, essentially to enclose, as in the process of thinking, reasoning, or deduction, or of inference, which does not require stating it, that wraps or closes reasoning into a result, an outcome. Argument, a reason or set of reasons used with the purpose of persuasion. For example, a reason or set of reasons presented to influence or cause an audience to think, accept, or believe that a view, notion, statement, claim, assumption, or conclusion is true and trustworthy. Argumentation, the presentation or use of argument. Reliable, consider rely plus able, the quality of something having complete integrity such that it is dependable, trustworthy, faithful, and worthy of our confidence. Honest, without deceit or deception and untruthfulness. Untruth, that which is not reliable, consistent, and of integrity. Relevant, closely connected to what is being done or considered. Appropriate to what is being done or considered. Irrelevant, not closely connected with something. Foreign or extraneous, of external origin, to something. Grim, black, dark, heavy, or uninviting. Scrapping, doggedly, persistently and grimly, fighting and so exhibiting stubborn will. Now we progress into Part 4, Investigation and Consideration. Here's the sequence of occurrence in order of time. 1. Truth, Honor, and Integrity, THI, Xmas Special, Show, December 25. 2. Email or Complaint, December 30, involving THI Xmas Special, December 25. 3. Thomas's email reply, December 31, regarding email or complaint. 4. Tim's response, January 3, regarding Thomas's email reply. 5. Thomas's 4 statements, published on YouTube January 6, referencing a complaint. Here is the general sequence of our consideration. 1. Thomas's 4 statements, published on YouTube January 6, referencing a complaint. 2. Email or complaint, December 30, involving THI Xmas Special, December 25. 3. Thomas's email reply, December 31, regarding email or complaint, and 4. Tim's response, January 3, regarding Thomas's email reply. In the matter of words occurring in the 4 statements or the email or complaint, a few more definitions are needed. Dignity, the right of someone to be valued and respected for their own state and well-being, including being valued and respected regarding their own state and well-being involving where they live or do not live, their appearance, etc. Denigrate, involving a Latin word, denigrare, essentially meaning blacken, make dark, including to blacken, darken, stain, damage, defile, diminish, lessen, or devalue the dignity of and respect for. Complaint, an expression that something is not appropriate or satisfactory. Source knowing, knowing that is of source and source nature consciousness, knowing that is what source knows and not a conclusion or judgment on our part. Cosmos knowing, knowing that is of cosmos nature consciousness, what the creation, for example, created spirit, soul, body, or construct, knows or thinks or believes it knows. Repugnant, in conflict with or incompatible with, unacceptable or distasteful. Filthy, dirty, or nasty. Repugnant to truth, honor, integrity, love, dignity, light, honesty, mind, senses, virtue, higher noble morals, for example, those in accordance with truth, love, light, knowing, balance, and wisdom of source, or being morally bad, of poor quality, lowness, or low standard. Now we investigate and consider 1. Thomas's 4 statements published on YouTube January 6, referencing a complaint, and 2. Email or complaint December 30 involving THI Xmas Special December 25. Evidence 1. The 4 statements. Read through these briefly. We're doing the Bankers Greed program for them, and it ends up with people on the street in mobile homes, which I got a complaint about recently, stating I was denigrating people living in mobile homes. Wrong thinking. That is reacting to the headline again, not looking deeper into why that is a problem. I'm denigrating the system. We consider statement 1. We're doing the Bankers Greed program for them, and it ends up with people on the street in mobile homes, which I got a complaint about recently, stating I was denigrating people living in mobile homes. In connection with statement 1, we consider the first part of relevant email or complaint, evidence 2, and we use some annotations. Was or is there a complaint? Evidence 2, email or complaint, regarding THI Xmas Special, December 25th, is the annotation at the upper left-hand corner. So getting into the body. Congratulations for kudos regarding revocation. Paragraph 2. Yet why would love use the notions of living in a mobile home or a mother's basement as being due to some lack of validity or some credibility deficiency on the part of anyone? Paragraph 3. Are we so lacking apparent source nature, source knowing, or even cosmos knowing, and so out of touch with reality that we use such thinking or notions in behaviors of devaluing people in low frequency and energetically filthy or colored, dirty or dark, scrapping, that we manifest our ignorance, foolishness, and unlove regarding the many who, because of abuses of the old order, including practices associated with the trust, individuals, couples, families, and single parents with children have been forced out of employment or adequate employment or business and into situations involving cohabiting with more aged parents or grandparents or other relatives or friends, or who have lost jobs or businesses and houses or apartments and are left with renting a mobile home or a cheap motel or hotel room, or are otherwise homeless, or situations involving some wisdom regarding their choices and so not living in a house or apartment. How is such thinking and behavior of source love or source wisdom? Without fretting over some details, we may perceive that Thomas indeed received a complaint regarding what he had said in his THI Xmas special involving the body and main subject of presentation regarding a small group of the few specified and described people, some of which living in a mobile home or in a mother's basement, etc. Later, however, we will disclose or expose some other qualities of Statement 1. Exactly what of the THI Xmas special gave rise to the complaint? Essentially, it is Thomas's presentation from about 2 hours 30 minutes to about 2 hours 44 minutes, which is the body of presentation regarding the main subject of that portion of the show. An introductory part occurs at about 2 hours 22 minutes to about 2 hours 30 minutes. What is the main subject, and what does it essentially involve? Essentially, and using Thomas's apparent perspective and express view, its main subject is a small group of a few specified and described people, in their view involving that Thomas is a nasty and tiny man who has an insignificant group. Note: consider Team Bubba, fraud fighters mentioned by Thomas, and there's a URL if you want to check that out. Now to Statement 2. Wrong thinking. Statement 2, wrong thinking, is in the nature of an assumption or conclusion stated with some emphasis and used with such force upon the minds of Thomas's audience, and is thus far without any evidence or proof that it is reliable, valid, trustworthy, or worth believing, or of truth, honor, and integrity. Standing alone, there would be little to no reason to accept it or believe it, unless perhaps one believes and trusts that Thomas is reliable regarding truth, honor, and integrity. Backing it up with something of more force or power is needed such that it and Thomas are accepted, believed, and trusted. What does Thomas's argumentation use in attempted support, substantiation, or validation that Statement 2, wrong thinking, is reliable, valid, worth accepting and believing, trustworthy, and of truth, honor, and integrity? Let's see. It's Statement 3. That is reacting to the headline again, not looking deeper into why that is a problem. Statement 3, that is reacting to the headline again, not looking deeper into why that is a problem, is an argument. That is, reason used in attempt at persuading the minds of the audience, presented as support, substantiation, or validation of the preceding, unsupported, unsubstantiated, or unvalidated Statement 2, wrong thinking, and so used in applying its force to the minds of the audience. Is Statement 3 honest? That is, without deceit or deception and untruthfulness? Or is it otherwise, and without love, light, truth, honor, and integrity? Let's pick up again with the evidence, email, or complaint and perceive, comprehend, and recognize or know the nature of Statement 3, since, like Statement 2, it is an alleged quality of relevant complaint. In the latter part of paragraph 3 of the email or complaint, which we've already read, is presented a list regarding the certain many, and in gold font, there is a parenthetic phrase giving clarification regarding relevant cause or why the many have experienced problematic effects of that cause and so are living in Mama's basement or in a mobile home. Let's take a closer look at that parenthetic phrase and clarification. What is involved in that parenthetic phrase and clarification? How does Thomas have any knowledge of it? Evidence 2, email or complaint, the parenthetic phrase involving cause. Who, because of abuses of the old order, including practices associated with a trust. The relevant cause expressly disclosed on the face of relevant email or complaint involves abuses of the old order, involving Draco or Anunnaki control over the planet and her people. That problem and order is also called the system. Thomas knows that the old order is also the system, or the lowercase o order or uppercase O order, including its banking and bankers, and that the system is in the process of being changed, which is why I used old order. Many are aware that such order or system is rightly one of Thomas's subjects on his shows. The parenthetic phrase involves everything regarding the old order, the system, including a certain trust arrangement and related practices, with the system functioning in connection with and part of the trust arrangement. We'll expand. The email or complaint obviously and expressly shows that the relevant cause is the old order, also known as the order or system. Among other things, that order or system includes banking, financial or funding, governmental, economic, commercial, corporate, religious, including church or ecclesiastical, educational, legal, judicial, law enforcement, intelligence, military, etc., subsystems functioning in connection with the trust arrangement involving the res, things of property, lodged or placed in trust, regarding which Kim Goguen is a trustee, consider as legal title holder. The trust arrangement is superior to the inferior latecomers on this planet, for example, Roman Empire, Britannic Empire, Roman law, Roman equity, the Vatican, ecclesiastical or canon law, papal bull, common law, planetary, commercial or maritime law, Constitution for the lowercase u, United States of America, Constitution of the uppercase U, United States of America, the United States Corporation, the United Nations, the Church, the Pope, the Vatican, and all planetary dragon families, Chinese elders, royals, etc. Also, part of such cause, order, system, is that the people don't know the truth of who and what they or we are, and so have been easily fooled into being bottom-level subjects or slaves, or lowly slave masters, not true owners or independent sovereigns, within the system or order, and under a so-called lowercase g God or uppercase G God, or all caps Lord, that is not Source the Creator. The people have believed many dark fallacies, deception, guile, regarding themselves, God, the Lord, religion, church, the cosmos, and law, including ecclesiastical or canon law, papal bull, maxims of law, constitutional law, law of sovereigns, common law, law of subjects of a low-level supervisor, e.g. monarch or other governor, civil law, legislative law, commercial or maritime law, and equity law perversions via dark, biased, and corrupt Roman equity, etc. In equity or fairness, involving principles of jus or use, what is considered right or just, that are in agreement with source nature since before the cosmos and have been in effect for many ages, preceding arrival of Urs, Pleiadians, or Draco or Anunnaki, and preceding Rome, the Holy Roman Empire, the Vatican, the Britannic Empire, and the inferior common law of England and America, involving fiction and other rule of law and maxims involving fallacies, deception or guile, arising via Rome under the Draco or Anunnaki, and including martial law, the trustee is rightly considered not the true, real, genuine owner, the true, real, or genuine owner having equitable, or fairness title, in accord with source love, being the beneficiaries of the trust, for example, the people of the planet, such that Kim, the trustee, is obligated to administer for the benefit of the people, yet not at the people's whim. Equitable, or fairness title, in accord with source love, is superior to so-called legal title, and common law title or right, being title or right of subjects and not sovereigns in accord with the truth and status of any people's or being's source essence, is actually inferior. And higher law or equity may and can intervene or overrule. Source consciousness knows that source essence and the sovereignty, absolute freedom of choice, of its source nature are even superior to so-called cosmic or universal law, while cosmos nature does not have that sovereignty. In these matters, and with some room for improvement, Kim is doing the right thing regarding the trust and is maintaining integrity concerning 1, her trustee status and obligations, and 2, the security and administration of the trust, including A, keeping secure the res, things, property, or assets, lodged in the trust, and B, keeping secure the beneficiaries regarding their rights concerning the res. The nature of the trust arrangement, including Kim's obligations, prevents Kim from disclosing certain confidential things, else she commits breach of trust, which would be against the grants, grantors, and beneficiaries, and could potentially jeopardize the res, assets, such that they be plundered to the loss of the beneficiaries. Some dark, greedy, unknowing, or delusional people or beings give Kim a hard time for doing it right, and so unjustly give Thomas a hard time for cooperating with her regarding the security of the trust. The beneficiaries, who typically yet experience some degree of ignorance or other incompetence, do not govern or administer the trust and have no authority, need, or right to know certain confidential things that may jeopardize a trust, including the trustee, her team, the operation, and the beneficiaries. Certain operational things must not be disclosed. Trustee labors and obligations do not end until the trust has been fulfilled. The trust is fulfilled when the res, things, property, or assets, lodged in the trust, have been completely distributed to the beneficiaries of the trust arrangement in accordance with the purpose and intent of the grants made by the grantors, in accordance with the qualities and authority of the trust arrangement, in accordance with source love. Only that purpose and intent, including any discretionary powers of the trustee, have any authority regarding governing or operating the trust, including any disclosure involved. And neither the Rothschilds, the Draco families, the so-called Chinese elders, the so-called royals, i.e. low-level supervisor subjects of the order or system, nor the Pope, etc., have any authority to control or administer the trust or to command the trustee. Yet, source can and may override it all, including Kim and any decision, determination, or action of any galactic, universal, or other council, especially where beings refuse or resist source orientation and source balance in this new age of light, source light involving 0% dark. Also, and among other factors, the order system experiences things of the illusion of enmity between so-called lighters and members of the so-called Order of the Black Sun, and being cosmos nature-oriented, both resist and fail to reliably know their own source, and so fail to reliably know themselves and their magnificence. So, what is involved in that parenthetic phrase and clarification of the email or complaint? The parenthetic phrase involves everything regarding the old order, the system, including a certain trust arrangement and related practices with the system functioning in connection with and part of the trust arrangement. How does Thomas have any knowledge of what the parenthetic phrase and clarification of the email or complaint involve? Thomas is a member of Kim's team and so has more than enough knowledge to know the great depth and breadth of what is involved in the parenthetic phrase and clarification, including the old order, aka the order or the system, and the relevant trust arrangement. And to some extent, Thomas has discussed it on his shows. In the email or complaint, I used old order to distinguish a previous state of the system from a newer state of the system because it has incurred and is incurring changes, such that a new system may give a return to the people instead of taking or harvesting away from the people. Also, over the past 3 years, and whether via blog or email, I have communicated enough with Kim and or Kim and or Thomas that they should have some awareness and knowledge of my view, including source, except for things they do not yet comprehend. They have never rebutted or corrected what I have communicated regarding the order or system or Kim's appointment, position of source, and function involving the trust. Yet they may send an email correcting me, such that I have actual notice and knowledge of the correction, and I may publicize my correction in accordance with truth, honor, and integrity, and so disclose or expose myself. Of course, I may have some questions for them to answer of source consciousness. Still investigating and considering Statement 3. Statement 3, that is reacting to the headline again, not looking deeper into why that is a problem. Does the email or complaint evidence looking deeper into why that is a problem? Yes, it does. Is a very deep view the basis of the email or complaint? Yes, it is. What of the email or complaint is reacting to the headline and not looking deeper into why that is a problem? Nothing. At the time that Thomas apparently contrived and employed his Statement 3 argument, did Thomas have notice and knowledge of the email or complaint, including knowledge of it manifesting that its author had indeed looked deeper into why that is a problem, and that such deeper look is expressly involved in the view shown on the face of the complaint? Yes, he did. He responded to that email on December 31, 2019, the day after it was sent. Now, while investigating and considering Statement 3, we begin to expose more regarding Statement 1. Let's go back and look more closely at the first part of Statement 1 of the 4 statements and see how Thomas set up his argumentation or presentation to convince the mind of his audience. Does it involve banking or bankers in connection with the old order, the system? We're doing the Banker's Greed program for them, and it ends up with people on the street in mobile homes, which I got a complaint about recently stating I was denigrating people living in mobile homes. Is that underlined portion essentially the same why that is a problem that was communicated to Thomas via the email or complaint? We may perceive, comprehend, and recognize or know that it is. So, if Thomas were operating in and of love, light, truth, honor, and integrity, 1. Why would he hide? Dark, that which hides or conceals. Black, that which it completely hides or conceals. The fact that such complaint had presented such deeper look into why that is a problem. And 2. Why would he misrepresent that such complaint had not involved looking deeper into why that is a problem? What may we perceive or know? Did Thomas hide that fact? Yes, he did. Did Thomas completely hide that fact? Yes, he did. Is that being dark, even black? Yes, it is. Is that being light? No, it is not. Is that being honest? No, it is not. With Thomas having actual notice and knowledge of the complaint, is Statement 3 knowingly misleading? Yes, it is. Is that being love? No, it is not. Is that of truth, honor, and integrity? No, it is not. Dark, that which closes, hides, covers, cloaks, or veils. Quality of coloration or darkness. Black, most dark. Fallacy, deception or guile, including false or deceptive thinking, reasoning, intellect, argument, or behavior. And why would Thomas use the same why that is a problem in his argumentation against the notion or view that he had denigrated anyone living in a mobile home such that 1. The audience would or may be convinced that he had not done such. 2. The complainer failed regarding reliable thinking, reasoning, intellect, or knowing, and behavior involving a deeper look into why that is a problem. And 3. That Thomas had actually done otherwise. We answer these questions. Does an email or complaint evidence looking deeper into why that is a problem? Yes, it does. Did Thomas have knowledge of the email or complaint at the time he contrived and employed his Statement 3 argument that was published via YouTube on January 6, 2020? Yes, he did. He responded to that email on December 31, 2019, the day after it was sent. What then is the nature of Statement 3? Is Statement 3 without fallacy, deception or guile, and untruthfulness? Or is it without love, light, truth, honor, and integrity? We may perceive, comprehend, and recognize or know that the Statement 3 argument that Thomas knowingly employed to persuade the minds of his audience is in the nature of darkness, blackness, fallacy, deception or guile, untruthfulness, misdirection, unreliability, and untrustworthiness, and it is without love, light, truth, honor, and integrity. And we may perceive, comprehend, and recognize or know that it is of Thomas being somewhat self-serving, dark, and serving the dark, ego imbalanced, and of public scrapping against truth, love, and light, and so resisting source and source nature, even contradicting the qualities of his own source essence, and resisting the source essence and source progression, source love, light, truth progression, of us all. Now we look at Statement 4. I'm denigrating the system. We may perceive, comprehend, and recognize or know that Thomas's Statement 4, I'm denigrating the system, is an unverified and unvalidated argument. That is, reason used in attempt at persuading the minds of his audience, presented as supporting, substantiating, or validating the preceding emphatic statement, Statement 2, wrong thinking, and the Statement 3 argument that Thomas knowingly contrived and employed to persuade the minds of his audience with misdirection, deception, and untrustworthiness, and without love, light, truth, honor, and integrity. Furthermore, there is the setup of Statement 1 and the flow of argumentation also involving all of the 4 statements. Let's take a closer look. The setup. Statement 1. We are doing the Banker's Greed program for them, and it ends up with people on the street in mobile homes. Setup. Which I got a complaint about recently. Link of setup. Stating I was denigrating people living in mobile homes. This, in context, essentially echoes a deeper look expressed of the email or complaint regarding why that is a problem. Also, however, it is the setup that is part of Thomas's line of reasoning contrived and employed to persuade the minds of his audience, via his 4 statements, that Thomas and what he is saying are of truth, honor, and integrity, and he had not denigrated any people living in mobile homes. The phrase, which I got a complaint about recently, conceptually links or connects two things. One, what he was saying about the Banker's Greed program or system, and two, something Thomas had previously said that gave rise to a complaint about what he had previously said regarding people living in mobile homes. This tactic and argumentation set up and employ suggestion and notion as if reliable fact that there is connection or relevance between one, what he was saying about the Banker's Greed program or the system, and two, something Thomas had previously said that gave rise to a complaint about what he had previously said about people living in mobile homes. Here is the flow of Thomas's argumentation. Here's the flow of Thomas's argumentation involving the setup and its link. Statement 1. We're doing the Banker's Greed program for them, and it ends up with people on the street in mobile homes. Setup involving the system, which I got a complaint about recently. Link of setup involving the system. Stating I was denigrating people living in mobile homes. Statement 2. Wrong thinking. Relying on the setup and its link involving the system. Statement 3. That's looking at the headline again, not looking deeper into why there's a problem. Relying on the setup and its link involving the system being the why of the problem. Statement 4. I'm denigrating the system. Relying on the setup and its link, which setup is expanded with Statement 2 and Statement 3 to further set up and empower Statement 4. Does such connection or relevance exist? During the presentation that gave rise to complaint, was Thomas denigrating, as he says, or denigrating the system or something or someone else? During Thomas's THI Xmas special, presentation or argumentation, from about 2 hours 30 minutes to about 2 hours 44 minutes and with context, did the body and main subject involve bankers, the system? No, it did not. Did it involve something else? That is, a small group of the few specified and described people or dissenters with whom Thomas has been exchanging verbal blows in what may be considered a form of scrapping for some significant amount of time preceding the THI Xmas special, such that there is a history and pattern of it recorded or evidenced of various of his previous shows? Yes, it did involve something else. That is, a small group of the few specified and described people or dissenters, and not bankers or the system. That is an important and key fact or truth to grasp. That is, regarding the relevant body and subject of Thomas's presentation that gave rise to relevant complaint, Thomas was not denigrating the system. He was having fun slamming or putting down, denigrating or devaluing, a small group of dissenters or opponents, and including language about living in a mobile home or mama's basement, etc. So, let's look at the alpha and omega, first and last of his statements, and so discover their nature and something of the nature of their God, Lord, Master, or Creator. Statement 1. We're doing the Banker's Greed program for them, and it ends up with people on the street in mobile homes, which I got a complaint about recently, stating I was denigrating people living in mobile homes, is actually a dark, black, cunning, tricky, and misleading or deceptive perversion or corruption. That is, Thomas darkly or blackly, deceptively, conceptually, and with knowledge of the truth to the contrary, falsely, linked, tied, or bound, 1. What previously gave rise to complaint with 2. What he was saying regarding the system or order, and no such connection or relevance exists. We may perceive, comprehend, and recognize or know that, other than the fact of there being a complaint, Statement 1 is more dark, black, deception, or guile, and without love, light, truth, honor, and integrity, and so we may know something of the nature of its God, Lord, Master, or Creator. Statement 4, I'm denigrating the system, is completely false and irrelevant regarding the body and main subject of the presentation that gave rise to the complaint, and so it is more dark, black, deception, or guile, and without love, light, truth, honor, and integrity, and so we may know something of the nature of its God, Lord, Master, or Creator. Also in connection, Statement 3, that is reacting to the headline again, not looking deeper into why there's a problem, is actually a dark, black, cunning, tricky, and misleading perversion or corruption that Thomas used in misleadingly, conceptually, and with knowledge of truth to the contrary, combining Statement 1, Statement 2, Statement 3, and Statement 4 in a system and argumentation of dark, black fallacy, deception, or guile, that applies forces of darkness, untruth, illusion, and deception upon the minds of the audience such that the audience may accept, be convinced, and believe that he and his four statements are reliable and of truth, honor, and integrity. What then is the nature of his Statement 2? Wrong thinking. We may perceive, comprehend, and recognize or know that if right thinking is of love, light, honesty, truth, honor, and integrity, it is Thomas doing the wrong thinking under his misleading banner of truth, honor, and integrity. Would he do well to think different as he urges others to do? If there were a similar communication that Thomas may also call a complaint, would at least the last two of his four statements yet be false, misleading, and without truth, honor, and integrity? Let's look regarding his Statement 3. At the time that Thomas employed the four statements and regarding his Statement 3, did Thomas have actual notice and knowledge of any relevant and deeper look into why that is a problem, and did he completely conceal it and make it seem that there was no relevant and deeper look? Yes, he did. Is that dark, even black, most dark, misleading, and repugnant to love, light, truth, honor, and integrity? We may perceive, comprehend, and recognize or know that it is. Is that nastiness? We may perceive, comprehend, and recognize or know that it is. Repugnant, in conflict with or incompatible with, unacceptable or distasteful. Filthy, dirty, or nasty, repugnant to truth, honor, integrity, love, dignity, light, honesty, mind, senses, virtue, higher noble morals, for example, those in accordance with truth, love, and light, knowing, balance, and wisdom of source, or being morally bad, of poor quality, lowness, low standard. If there were a similar communication that Thomas may also call a complaint, would at least the last two of his four statements yet be false, misleading, illusion, and without truth, honor, and integrity? Let's look regarding Statement 4. At the time that Thomas employed the four statements, and regarding Statement 4, did Thomas have knowledge that the relevant body and main subject of the relevant portion of his THI Eczema special that gave rise to complaint actually involved a small group of a few specified and described people and not the system, and did he completely conceal it and falsely make it seem appear otherwise, create a cover-up and an illusion involving deception or guile? Yes, he did. Is that dark, even black, most dark, misleading, and repugnant to love, light, truth, honor, and integrity? We may perceive, comprehend, and recognize or know that it is. Is that nastiness? We may perceive, comprehend, and recognize or know that it is. Has Thomas presented any evidence or proof of orientation, attitude, thinking, reasoning, intellect, mind, spirit, soul, body, ego, or heart, or behavior, that he is a somewhat dark, black, misleading, untrustworthy, and nasty man, and lacking regarding love, light, truth, honor, and integrity? we may perceive, comprehend, and recognize or know that he has. If wisdom of source nature is of love, light, truth, honor, and integrity, has Thomas provided evidence or proof that he lacks such wisdom, is foolish? We may perceive, comprehend, and recognize or know that he has. Regarding the four statements, we may perceive, comprehend, and recognize or know that the entire line of reasoning, leading with the setup and closing with statement 4 involving the setup, that Thomas knowingly contrived and employed, involves and relies upon dark, black, unloving, false, unreliable, deceitful, and misleading setup and argument, such that all of the four statements are dark, black, false, cunning, tricky, deceptive, and without love, light, truth, honor, and integrity. In source, would have people know it. Are we perceiving, comprehending, recognizing, or knowing the dark way of thinking, reasoning, intellect, and behavior of some significant degree of darkness and fallacy, deception or guile, of Thomas's spirit, soul, body, heart, mind, ego, being? There is more disclosure or exposure. We expand regarding the email or complaint and take that promised deeper look regarding the thinking, notions, and behaviors mentioned. So this is evidence to email or complaint again, screen 1 with the keywords thinking, notions, behaviors highlighted in paragraphs. In those 2 paragraphs. And in those paragraphs. We expand disclosure or exposure regarding thinking, notions, and behaviors mentioned of the email or complaint, including the following. Along with other closely connected thinking, notions, and behaviors displayed or manifested of Thomas, there are those regarding a small group of the few specified and described people, and using or employing the notions of living in a mobile home or a mother's basement, etc., in any manner stating or inferring any of that group being of any substandard or lesser worth or value, or being any cause of some lack of validity or some credibility deficiency on the part of anyone or their view. This was addressed by paragraph 2 of the email or complaint. Two, along with other closely connected thinking, notions, and behaviors displayed or manifested of Thomas, there is using and employing such thinking, notions, and behaviors of devaluing people in low frequency and energetically filthy or colored, dirty or dark, scrapping, in public, including impact and effects regarding the described many and the masses. This was addressed by paragraph 3 of email or complaint, and regarding the small group being devalued or put down, denigrated, in public venue, affecting also the masses, including the many. 3. Along with other closely connected thinking, notions, and behaviors displayed or manifested of Thomas, there is thinking and behavior that are part of problem comparative thinking, which he likes to talk about. For example, these are invalid or deficient because, after all, they live in a mobile home or their mother's basement. This was addressed by paragraph 5 of email or complaint, and regarding the small group being devalued or put down, denigrated, in public venue, affecting also the masses, including the many. There's also a reference in paragraph 4, but it relates back to paragraph 3. And 4, along with other closely connected thinking, notions, and behaviors displayed or manifested of Thomas, there is such thinking and behavior is in part why people that I have directed to THI do not stay with it. There are people who are developed enough to see and to recognize that thinking and behavior are not of source nature. This was addressed by paragraph 8 of email or complaint. And 5. And in connection with the above 1, 2, 3, and 4 various fallacies, deception or guile, for example, of dark or black and dodgy or tricky, thinking, reasoning, intellect, mind, spirit, soul, body, heart, ego, and argumentation or behavior, among them being, in part, the following fallacies. Ad hominem, attacking the person rather than qualifications. For example, he lives in Mama's basement. He lived in Mama's basement. They live in a mobile home. He is under investigation. She is ugly. They are ugly. He jacks off. Consider his involvement of such regarding the small group of a few people, etc. Perhaps employing loaded language or other fallacy. This fallacy involves a lack of integrity of thinking, reasoning, intellect, mind, and argument or behavior. It may be perceived or known to be evidence and proof that Thomas is a nasty man who has denigrated some people. Loaded language, argument employing language that mocks, derides, or distorts the other side, such as typically emotive language, language that triggers emotional response for persuasive effect, including stereotypes, for example, those often attributed to people who live or have lived in Mama's basement, are living in a mobile home, including any conscious or subconscious connection with the veiled stereotype, trailer trash, are ugly, jacking off, under investigation, not working, living in the woods, etc. A few other examples of words that may be used in loaded language or other fallacy, for example, ad hominem, are jackass, stupid, beyond stupid, insane or unsane, been convicted, been in jail, been married 6 times, did not pay a debt, did drugs, had sex with a prostitute, in violation of a court order, did not pay child support, is a crack addict, screwed up in the past, has a warrant for his or her arrest, failed to answer, etc. This fallacy involves a lack of integrity of thinking, reasoning, intellect or mind, and argument or behavior. Consider that publicly displayed, manifested, and evidence of Thomas, and may be perceived or known to be evidence and proof that Thomas is a nasty man who has denigrated some people. Non sequitur, does not follow, as a conclusion that perhaps inferred that does not follow. For example, they live in Mama's basement or a mobile home, are ugly, jacking off, not working, unemployed, under investigation, living in the woods, homeless, etc. Therefore, they are worth less or substandard or not equal, and or their views, for example, involving Thomas being a nasty man, are not credible, valid, or reliable, or they are failures or low class, worth less, substandard, not equal, or less than, or not as good as others who live in their own houses or apartments, are not ugly, are working, employed, are not under investigation, are not living in the woods, not homeless. Of course, such may also involve loaded language and other fallacies. This fallacy involves a lack of integrity of thinking, reasoning, intellect or mind, and argument or behavior. Consider that publicly displayed, manifested, and evidenced of Thomas. Does not at all present any evidence or proof that Thomas is other than a nasty man, and may be perceived or known to be evidence and proof that Thomas is a nasty man and has denigrated some people. Red herring. Introducing an irrelevant or secondary subject that draws attention away from the main subject, which fallacy can be very persuasive when combined with loaded language and other fallacies. It is apparent that the body and main subject of Thomas's presentation, giving rise to complaint, involves the view of a small group of a few of Thomas's dissenters or opponents, including the view that Thomas is a nasty man. We may perceive and recognize or know that the body of Thomas's presentation employs various notions that are irrelevant or secondary and are divergent from the main subject involving the closely connected notion and view, including that Thomas is a nasty man. For example, certain people living in Mama's basement is an irrelevant and secondary subject, draws attention away from the view that Thomas is a nasty man, does not have anything to do with actually exposing any lack of credibility, reliability, or validity regarding the view that Thomas is a nasty man, does not at all present any evidence or proof that Thomas is other than a nasty man, and may be perceived or known to be evidence and proof that Thomas is a nasty man and has denigrated some people, and I hit the wrong button. Excuse me. Let me get back to where it should be. The couple or any other living in a mobile home is an irrelevant and secondary subject, draws attention away from the view that Thomas is a nasty man, does not have anything to do with actually exposing any lack of credibility, reliability, or validity regarding the view that Thomas is a nasty man, does not at all present any evidence or proof that Thomas is other than a nasty man, and may be perceived or known to be evidence and proof that Thomas is a nasty man and has denigrated some people, and jacking off to porn is an irrelevant and secondary subject, draws attention away from the view that Thomas is a nasty man, does not have anything to do with actually exposing any lack of credibility, reliability, or validity regarding the view that Thomas is a nasty man, does not at all present any evidence or proof that Thomas is other than a nasty man, and it may be perceived or known to be evidence and proof that Thomas is a nasty man and has denigrated some people, and dressing in black lace and standing on a platform in a basement, etc., is an irrelevant and secondary subject, draws attention away from the view that Thomas is a nasty man, does not have anything to do with actually exposing any lack of credibility, reliability, or validity regarding the view that Thomas is a nasty man, does not at all present any evidence or proof that Thomas is other than a nasty man, and may be perceived or known to be evidence and proof that Thomas is a nasty man and has denigrated some people, and they are ugly, is an irrelevant and secondary subject, draws attention away from the view that Thomas is a nasty man, does not have anything to do with actually exposing any lack of credibility, reliability, or validity regarding the view that Thomas is a nasty man, does not at all present any evidence or proof that Thomas is other than a nasty man, and it may be perceived or known to be evidence and proof that Thomas is a nasty man and has denigrated some people, and living or being in the woods, consider homeless, in Indiana or other, is an irrelevant and secondary subject, draws attention away from the view that Thomas is a nasty man, does not have anything to do with actually exposing any lack of credibility, reliability, or validity regarding the view that Thomas is a nasty man, does not at all present any evidence or proof that Thomas is other than a nasty man, and may be perceived or known to be evidence and proof that Thomas is a nasty man and has denigrated some people, and not working, consider unemployed, is an irrelevant and secondary subject, draws attention away from the view that Thomas is a nasty man, does not have anything to do with actually exposing any lack of credibility, reliability, or validity regarding the view that Thomas is a nasty man, does not at all present any evidence or proof that Thomas is other than a nasty man, and may be perceived or known to be evidence and proof that Thomas is a nasty man and has denigrated some people, and 42 years old and still a virgin is an irrelevant and secondary subject, draws attention away from the view that Thomas is a nasty man, does not have anything to do with actually exposing any lack of credibility, reliability, or validity regarding the view that Thomas is a nasty man, does not at all present any evidence or proof that Thomas is other than a nasty man, and may be perceived or known to be evidence and proof that Thomas is a nasty man and has denigrated some people, etc. This fallacy involves a lack of integrity of thinking, reasoning, intellect, or mind, and argument or behavior. Consider that publicly displayed, manifested, and evidenced of Thomas. Additionally, and this doesn't appear on the slide, but source would have me say this, the people who helped Thomas set up that show and do that investigation and bring these things forward are in like condition as Thomas. And we can do better than that. Now, we investigate and consider 3, Thomas's email reply, December 31, regarding email or complaint, and 4, Tim's response, January 3, regarding Thomas's email or reply. Evidence 3, Thomas's email reply regarding email or complaint. It was a fun show, but point taken. Remember, I said he was having fun doing what he was doing. It was a fun show, but point taken. The rest of the year dictates who and what I am or stand for. I am entitled to let off some steam and humor once a year without getting into pedantics. Like the old saying, can't please all of the people all the time. Thomas. And here's my response. I've put some added indications regarding Thomas statements and Tim responses and some clarifying annotations. There are 4 people in the to field, as there were in the email complaint. And the people in the to field are, besides Thomas, are some of Thomas's friends. Kim Goguen, the trustee regarding planetary assets or property. Randy Moggins, who created Off-Planet Media and Radio. And Contact, which is regarding Alan James, who created Circle of White Light Radio, all of which have been involved in the possibility of more apparently co-laboring with me and with whom I have been communicating in the background so that they would have disclosure, exposure, or light regarding me, including source. We would hope that people this close to us would help us. Now with the body. Thank you, Thomas. I welcome the knowledge and loving observations and participation of the others in the to field, so I'm including them within the qualities of source light and source love involving this message, and if I am judged, it will not hurt my feelings or otherwise get me down. Indeed, and in a manner of speaking, you are entitled to do anything you choose to do, whether it manifests the qualities, including truth, love, and light, of your source essence or not. Please allow that I share or disclose, light, a few concepts of source orientation and source balance regarding statements of your gracious reply. You can tell that I'm being kind with Thomas. Thomas, it was a fun show, but point taken. The rest of the year dictates who and what I am or stand for. And Tim's response. Indeed, our apparent development involves change. And point taken goes to one of the wondrous qualities involved in you being positioned of source. Yet, when we choose and affect source orientation and source balance, neither the rest of the year nor anything else of the cosmos nature dictates anything. And where the parentheses are, there was a missing emoji. It did not transfer from the email into the word processing program. So it doesn't show up here. It was a smiley face. In source nature is the principal, source, and principal, primary or first, and preeminent or sovereign, including authoritative, cause and effect or manifestation regarding source purpose and source progression. Also, when we choose and affect source orientation and source balance, fun, another missing emoji, it was a thumbs up. It's good to have fun. Fun does not involve or dictate us thinking, saying, or otherwise doing anything that is not the truth, love, and light of our source essence and its source nature. When we think, say, or otherwise do other than the truth, love, and light of our source essence and its source nature, we are hiding or veiling dark, that which hides, source and source nature, and are so being dark. And source light and source balance do not involve any so-called 45 to 55% balance between dark and light. F2S4, source orientation and source balance. In choosing and affecting source orientation and source balance, we may and can have fun without aberration, that's deviation or divergence from, and without hiding, dark, that which hides, the truth, love, and light of our source nature. If this is not truth, what else is the truth? Thomas, I'm entitled to let off some steam and humor once a year without getting into pedantics. Tim's response. When we affect our source orientation and source balance, we know that such a notion and statement are manifestation of cosmos nature orientation, including its coloration or darkness, distortion, untruth, and thinking or intellect. And we know that pedantics is not that which affects source orientation and source balance, and that it is source nature itself, which is very certain and exact, and free from external formality while so being, that affects it with completeness or wholeness and clarity, and that my communication, sharing, or disclosure involving specificity and its bridge words or concepts is not based on pedantics, though tricky cosmos nature thinking, intellect, reasoning, and ego imbalances may attribute cause or basis to pedantics. What of humor, or letting off steam, requires or dictates that we in or of source orientation and source balance be, speak, or do other than the truth, love, and light of our source essence and its source nature. And the choice of either cosmos nature orientation and manifestation or source nature orientation and manifestation are entirely yours or ours. If this is not truth, what else is the truth? Pedantry. Giving excessive attention to insignificant or trivial details, rules, or points of learning or academics. Note, being thorough, accurate, or precise, or using significant and relevant detail, or sufficiently using relevant principles of love, light, truth, honor, soundness, reliability, or integrity is not pedantry, not being pedantic. Pedantic, the quality of being pedant. Thomas, like the old saying, can't please all the people all the time. Tim's response, my magnificent brother, manifesting the source nature of our source essence does not involve or rely upon pleasing any people any of the time. And the saying excuses no aberration. The word aberration is deviation or divergence from the source nature of our source essence, previously mentioned. It, manifesting the source nature of our source essence, is simply the effect of the truth, love, and light of our source essence and its source nature. Honor of the truth, love, and light of our source essence and its source nature, and complete integrity of the truth, love, and light of our source nature. Emphasis added. Source light, that is, a quality of source, including source nature, that discloses or exposes in accord with all other qualities of source nature, including source truth, source love, and source balance. Source light and source love eventually disclose, expose, or unhide us even to others. Source was giving Thomas notice here. Source had been giving Thomas notice for some time. When any of us have sufficient source consciousness, that any of us has source knowing regarding ourselves and others, and all are so disclosed, unveiled, uncloaked, uncovered, unhidden, or exposed, including the members of the Universal Council, Kim and the team, Thomas, Randy, Alan, and Tim. Of course, Tim is me. So I'm not exempt from being disclosed and exposed, and it's always a good thing. Request. In comprehending what I am sharing, including context of other videos of the SCU, Source, Cosmos, and Us Fundamental Series, please comprehend the following. F2, S4, Source Orientation and Source Balance was the title of a video, and there's its URL on this channel. F3S1, Affecting Source Orientation. And that is the last of the Fundamental Series, and there's its URL. If what is presented is not truth, please communicate, share, or disclose the truth that exposes or discloses light, the untruth of my sharing. That would be a very source nature, including source love, source light, source truth, and source consciousness manifestation. Thank you for all the truth, love, and light of your source essence that you manifest. Source Love, Tim. Additionally, regarding it was a fun show, but point taken, the rest of the year dictates who and what I am or stand for, and regarding reliability or truthfulness and mode of operation, 1. Why would Thomas have stated point taken in his email, and later publicly make the 4 statements, including their dark, black, and deceiving setup and arguments against the point? 2. What of the shows during the rest of the year that have manifested the same type of thinking, reasoning, intellect, or mind and behavior regarding the same few people or others? 3. And what of the 4 statements of the THI 2019 End of Year Review Part 5 published on YouTube January 6, 2020, which we've just gone over? Additionally, regarding I'm entitled to allow some steam and humor once a year without getting into pedantics, and regarding reliability or truthfulness and mode of operation, 1. Why would Thomas have stated once a year in his email with emphasis on once? What of the shows during the rest of the year that have manifested the same type of thinking, reasoning, intellect, or mind and behavior regarding the same few people or others? 3. Is it a one-off occurrence of such thinking, reasoning, intellect, or mind and behavior, or is it ongoing? And 4. Why use or employ pedantics regarding use of principles of thoroughness and exactness regarding reliability, love, and light, including principles of truth, honor, and integrity? We may perceive, comprehend, and recognize or know that the THI Xmas Special and the subsequent THI 2019 End of Year Review Part 5 and other shows among many manifest like qualities of dark and dodgy or tricky thinking, reasoning, intellect, mind, or heart, ego, and behavior involving darkness and various fallacies, and are not one-off or once a year. We may perceive, comprehend, and recognize or know that Thomas's use of the word pedantics involves darkness and various fallacies of dodgy or tricky and unreliable thinking, reasoning, intellect, mind, or heart, ego imbalance, and behavior, and that pedantics so employed is of dark, black, artful dodge, and that none of the statements of the evidence for reply of Thomas regarding email complaint, evidence 2, is reliable, trustworthy, or of love, light, truth, honor, and integrity. What is the most fundamental problem? What is its impact? What is the solution? What of Thomas's constant preaching, public proclamation, regarding balance? That is, that the ideal is 45 to 55% balance between dark and light. Would that not tend to achieve and maintain 45 to 55% dark or coloration? dark or colored state of being, some of which may actually be black, most dark. And in considering an announcement of the Universal Council presented by Thomas in stating that we have entered a new age of light and that dark cannot exist where there is light, where does that leave the notion of maintaining a so-called balance involving 45 to 55% dark? Dark, that which closes, hides, covers, cloaks, or veils. Quality of coloration or darkness. Black, most dark. Color, from Latin colos, meaning dark. Quality of coloration or darkness. Coloration, dark or darkened state of being, including all related qualities, including dark processes, causes, and effects. For example, dark spirit, soul, body or heart, ego, orientation, attitude, and thinking, reasoning, intellect, mind, or consciousness involving untruth, false beliefs, false knowing, dark behavior, and avoidance of exposure, avoidance of light. Source consciousness knows that the created cosmic spirit, soul, body, heart, and ego are not our source essence having pure and complete source light. Source light is not cosmically seen. So, without engaging and affecting source orientation and source balance involving pure and complete source light, 0% dark, our cosmic being and source connection are not cleared such that when we go inside, all we find there is source light. What we find there is a spirit, soul, body, heart, mind, intellect, consciousness, and ego that are somewhat dark and with false beliefs or delusions because of effects of cosmos nature coloration, darkness, retained or developed of cosmos nature orientation. What is the nature of any spirit, soul, body, heart, or ego, and orientation, attitude, thinking, reasoning, intellect, mind, consciousness, or beliefs, and behavior involving 45 to 55% dark, some of which may actually be black, most dark? Source consciousness knows, and we may comprehend or know, that is the nature of coloration, darkness, that is, dark including black, state of being that perpetuates the loop, wheel, or Ouroboros of the coloration or darkness experience. Coloration cycle, or darkness cycle. Ouroboros. Of our choice of orientation, source nature, 100% source light, or cosmos nature, coloration, and in terms of time, we may take a few days, months, or years to step out, or a few thousand, million, billion, or trillion years, millennia, or ages to step out. Thus, is it any wonder that Thomas would manifest being 45 to 55% dark, including somewhat black, and deceived or delusional, and dodgy or tricky, and that anyone having light and knowing of the source consciousness of their source essence clearly see and know his condition, which has been ongoing for ages and has lately been on public display and exposure in the cosmos, including this planet and in the witness of various councils, for example, Universal Council, Galactic Council, Earth Council, etc., we may perceive, comprehend, and recognize or know that it is not any wonder. Has Thomas broken out of his Ouroboros of cosmos nature coloration, dark or darkened state of being? Source consciousness knows, and we may otherwise perceive, comprehend, and recognize or know that he has not, and that he is yet stuck in the Ouroboros of his cosmos nature orientation and coloration. And as Thomas likes to say, oops. So, is it any wonder that people or beings having light and knowing of the source consciousness of their source essence see and know the somewhat dark condition of Kim and her team, and of the order or government officials, or the United Nations, or the church, or the various councils, or so-called elders, or galactic beings, or intergalactic beings, or gods and goddesses, etc.? We may perceive, comprehend, and recognize or know that it is not any wonder. Do Source, Love, Light, and Truth hide any of that, or do they reveal, disclose, or expose it in the experiential consciousness of those who have sufficiently engaged and affected their source orientation and source balance, and so cleared their obstructions that block source light, or unto others who may otherwise be able to accept it? We may perceive, comprehend, and recognize or know that Source, Love, Light, and Truth reveal, disclose, or expose it, and more. What hides things of source consciousness from any cosmic being that has source essence? That is, whatever coloration there is in its created spirit, soul, body, mind, heart, ego, which coloration obstructs and hides things of source consciousness of our source essence from our cosmic and experiential consciousness that would otherwise be apparent within the purpose and scope of our cosmic experience. How much dark and light do optimize source orientation and source balance involved? That is 0% dark and 100% source light, which leaves nothing left to hide or block our source nature manifestations within the cosmos. Does being positioned of source mean that we are more developed than any other, or that our decisions or plans and what we think or believe we know are purely or entirely of the light, love, and truth of source, or that we have engaged and affected our source orientation and source balance, or that our created spirit, soul, body, mind, heart, consciousness, or ego are filled with the light of source such that when we go inside, the only thing we find there is source light? Source consciousness knows that the answer is that it does not, and that source may, can, and does use even a slug or snail, or a dolphin or whale, or an ass, donkey, or a tree, or a god. If Thomas, Kim's team, and others are successful in being so-called balanced, involving shadow work and 45 to 55% dark, are they bringing to bear any dark cause and effect while being in their positions and to some degree, for example, 45 to 55%, serving the dark or darkness and resisting source and source nature, including that of their own source essence, and that regardless of how much they may talk about source as if they were knowing? Source consciousness knows that the answer is that they are, and that source may, can, and does use even a slug or snail, or a dolphin or whale, or an ass, donkey, or a tree, or a homeless man or woman, or one who lives in a mobile home or mama's basement, or one who is unemployed or is called ugly, or who dresses in black lace, or who is living in the woods, or who jacks off, or who is 42 and still a virgin, or a president, or general or admiral, or banker, or economist, or a rock, or a god. Note: Source puts us in positions and situations involving stressors, provisions, and opportunities that help affect our cosmic growth and development, and to give us opportunity of making changes in our cosmic selves or organism, created spirit, soul, body, heart, mind, ego, etc., and the cosmos. In this, the light of Source has influence, force, and effect regarding changes that are part of our progressing and manifesting our greater glory and other qualities of our essential being, that is, our source essence being, including source love, the kind of love that source has for all. Do Thomas, Kim, and team, and others have recourse such that we may actually bring the purity and completeness of source nature, including source light and source love, more apparently into our experience, and so effect optimal and magnificent changes in ourselves and in creation, including our spirit, soul, body, heart, mind, or ego? Source consciousness knows that the answer is that we do, and that remedy or recourse involves engaging and affecting apparent source orientation and source balance. Where can Thomas, Kim, and team, and others find the disclosure of source and source consciousness regarding the fundamentals of how to do that, which they have not yet apparently found or affected by their going inside where there is darkness, 45 to 55%? Where can we find that disclosure? Source has provided 9 videos, 9 number of completions, that is 1 orientation plus 8 more, numbers regarding oneness or unity and superabundance, giving full superabundant disclosure or exposure, light, of the fundamentals, including how to do it. They are on this YouTube channel. They're free. Who has complete sovereignty and responsibility regarding Thomas's choices and actions and the effects thereof? We may perceive, comprehend, and recognize or know that it is Thomas, and so it is regarding ourselves. Is it anyone else's obligation or responsibility to change Thomas's orientation, attitude, thinking, reasoning, intellect, mind, heart, ego, or behavior? We may perceive, comprehend, and recognize or know that it is not. May we of love, light, and truth share anything with him that may help him have some greater and more apparent, reliable awareness of which we may make choices in accordance with love, light, truth, honor, and integrity. We may, and I have been doing that for some time, a very small sample being evidences 2 and 4. Has Thomas provided anything of evidence or proof that his choice thus far has been in favor of cosmos nature orientation involving its coloration, including any nastiness and dark and dodgy tricky fallacies, causes, and effects thereof? We may perceive, comprehend, and recognize or know that he has, and that he has been doing so for quite some time, and that regardless of the disclosures and truths of Source lovingly shared with him. What is the most fundamental problem? What is its impact? What is the solution? Cosmos nature orientation and its coloration resist Source and Source nature, including the light, love, truth, knowing, and progression of Source regarding Source, cosmos, and us. This holds and maintains darkness and continues the Ouroboros experience. The Ouroboros of darkness has not been destroyed. The solution is a qualified choice in favor of Source orientation, also Source nature orientation, and Source balance involving 0% dark and clearing our created spirit, soul, body, heart, and ego that are not our endless, pure Source essence. Let's briefly look at the last part of the email or complaint, evidence 2, and so complete this part 5, investigation and consideration. Is such thinking and behavior not part of problem comparative thinking? For example, these are invalid or deficient because, after all, they live in a mobile home or their mother's basement? Why would we present or evidence such darkness or coloration, unlove, and lack of wisdom? That is, such lack of Source orientation and Source balance. Answer: it is lack of Source orientation and Source balance. Answer of Source knowing and not a judgment. So, here we are promoting truth, honor, and integrity and telling people to be the truth, love, and light of their Source essence, or to be like Source, yet also sending signals of coloration, dark or darkened state of being, including untruth, unlove, immaturity, and corruption to the masses? Such thinking and behavior is in part why people that I have directed to THI do not stay with it. There are people who are developed enough to see and recognize that thinking and behavior are not of source nature, yet they are not developed enough regarding their source consciousness to see and know why source has Thomas and or Kim or others in their positions. Are we not equal and invaluable regardless of where we live or do not live? And an annotation here to expand into other language that he used, and whether or not we are ugly or homeless or unemployed or 42 years old and still a virgin. Of source nature, including source consciousness, source love, source truth, source light, and source wisdom, we can do better. Source love, Tim. There is more regarding the most fundamental problem and its impact, including impact regarding our progression in accord with the purpose of source, involving the love, light, truth, knowing, strength or power, balance and wisdom of source. If the leader of the People's Club and the THI groups is in such condition of darkness involving various fallacies, dark fighting or scrapping, nastiness, and lack of love, light, truth, honor, and integrity, why would we expect those organizations to not manifest anything of like condition? Why would Thomas complain about people for being like he is? For example, dark, dodgy, deceptive, deceived or deluded, ego imbalanced, nasty, and somewhat lacking regarding love, light, truth, honor, and integrity. And why would he expect them to change their thinking and behavior when he would not change his own in favor of love, light, truth, knowing, balance, and wisdom of source shared with him? How can Thomas be a guardian and a champion for justice if he is dark, black, deceptive, nasty, foolish, and lacking regarding love, light, truth, honor, and integrity? How does that fit in this new age of light and progression of source light? How much longer would his coloration allow that he have any significance in favor of source light and source progression? What does Thomas bring into Kim's team, and what influence does he have? We may perceive or know that it is the combination of qualities of Thomas, including his somewhat dark state or condition, including his fallacies, deception or guile, any nastiness, and any lack of love, light, truth, honor, and integrity. Oops. Is such to some degree an impediment to peace, harmony, cooperation, the manifestation of love, light, and truth of source, and our progression in accordance with the love, light, and truth of source? We may perceive or know that it is. Now, Part 5. Intermediate Summary. With the help of source, we have discovered and disclosed or exposed 1. The nature of the four statements of Thomas Williams is that they are dark, even black, deceptive, not trustworthy, and not of love, light, truth, honor, and integrity, and such nature is not a one-off occurrence. 2. Thomas Williams manifests that he is not source nature oriented, is somewhat dark or black, and is not reliably thinking, reasoning, acting, or behaving in accordance with love, light, truth, honor, and integrity. 3. In using this disclosure exposure, we may improve our individual and collective progression and experience by way of greater awareness, and source orientation and source balance. Now, Part 6. Expanded source disclosure. Of source consciousness, I have removed and recalled all of my energetic support from Thomas Williams. Source light will not support or promote Thomas's ongoing rejection of source light. Thomas may yet change his orientation and manifest the magnificence of his source essence. That'd be great. In the cosmos, and at the creation of this video, there are three beings that have, at least to a certain pivotal and transcendent degree, in accordance with source consciousness, affected their source orientation and source balance process and way of being, and there are 57 others who are near doing so by way of qualified choice. Those numbers fluctuate based upon choices within the dynamics of the cosmic experience. None of the three beings is a member of any so-called Universal Council, Council, Galactic Council, or Kim Gogwen's team. That can change. Wouldn't that be awesome? Now, Part 7. Summary. Regarding the title, Thomas Williams, exposed, we are among the dots between Thomas Williams and exposed, and we have been progressing through the 7 parts. Introduction, evidences, preliminary definitions, investigation and consideration, intermediate summary, expanded source disclosure, and now summary. In doing so, we have answered the 3 questions posed in the introduction, and we have expanded source disclosure. May we all manifest the magnificence of our source essence, and so manifest love, light, truth, honor, and integrity within our cosmos experience. Together, we rise. Email any questions or comments to scu.nicemail@gmail.com. Thank you all very much for the positive responses. Please share this with your social circle and support this communication with a like and subscribe. This Tim Pledger, the source and author, is solely and completely responsible regarding this presentation, a message and gift of disclosure, and you, the hearer or viewer, are solely and completely responsible regarding what you do or do not do with it and the effects that you so create.